Hello friends, Jennifer Pearson here, Thistle Gypsy, and this is just a little report on my trip to see my doctor, my Lyme disease doctor in Missouri, and some of the things I brought back and some of my thoughts about that, and then a little bit about earthing too. So, because I can't travel I can't have a super long day of travel, I break my travel to Missouri into 2 days. But even with those 2 days, I don't have time to stop and be a tourist. I stop for necessities, and then I continue. But I do give myself the treat of avoiding really big cities, St. Louis namely, and Nashville. I don't take those interstates that a lot of people might automatically assume would be the obvious route. And that's in part because I'm unaccustomed to the level of traffic that occurs in those cities. And because of the Lyme disease, I feel like I am not able to process it the way I used to be able to process it. So to me, it feels like a no-win, no-win situation. The happy result of that is that I end up taking these wonderful routes through the Ozarks in the middle of the state. Or maybe it would be the middle central part of the state, in any case, or the middle central southern part of the state. And I have really developed an affection for the Ozarks. And it's just a fun, beautiful, peaceful drive. Just wonderful way to spend the hours that I'm on the road. And I'm going to pull some romance angel cards about the Ozarks here too. So finally, for one thing, it's no longer tourist season. I'm just barely out. This is September 16th as I'm doing this, and I got back yesterday. And so there's this town that I've always wanted to stop in called Steelville. And I finally was able to stop in Steelville because it wasn't, wall-to-wall tourist cars along the main street. So I stopped and I wandered through the shops and found a couple of things. So I played tourist for the first time, really, of doing all of this traveling back and forth through this region. And got some mementos, and you can see 2 of the mementos are rocks, and one is this wrist cuff. I kind of wish that it fit around my ankle. I even tried it, but it's not big enough to go around my ankle, because I'd almost prefer to wear it around my ankle. And she had several different animal representations, and I thought this snake was neat, but there were some other ones I may have preferred, but I had to have this color. She has like red or really vibrant colors that are too much for me. And of course, maybe she thought that she was going to be selling these to children or something, but I saw that and they were relatively cheap, and I had to have one. And I realized as I was looking, and I've seen this representation of snakes before, and I can't remember exactly where or what, but there's a lot of things I like about it. The more I looked at it, for one thing, for those of you who are into tarot, it reminded me somewhat, if you were to put a line through it, of the Pamela Coleman Smith. Not quite, doesn't quite work because of the position here. And actually you are seeing it reversed. Sorry, you're seeing it reversed because of a webcam setting. So there is that. Also, you see the red dots there. If you include the rattle at the end, there's 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Well, maybe not. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All right, 6. All right. I thought I had chakras there for a second. Well, maybe not. In any case, I like my snake. I don't feel like I have a snake totem. I do, or I can't say I like snakes that much now. I don't dislike them the way some people do. In the past, I've been fairly friendly with snakes. But the symbolism of them works for me. I liked it. So I got it. I think I might even communicate with the store that was selling this. I think that she said that, you know, she was writing the receipt that this needs to go to Betsy or somebody. In other words, they've got somebody local that makes these, and so I may communicate with them and ask for some others. I would love to have one that had bear on it, among other things, and to get them for gifts for my family even, I think would be fun. Even though they're a bit thick on a person's wrist, and if you live in a warmer climate like this, you know, I'm in Alabama, my parents are in Tennessee. See, so it's pretty thick, but it's so comfortable, and I don't like metal on me for some reason or another, and so this is cool. But anyway, it is a little bit warm. All right, and then I got some river rock, and they're just river rocks. There's some shopkeeper's husband had, and I think it's mainly the husband who does the things in the shop, he just picks these rocks up from the riverbed and he sells them. But I just think, I don't know that the textures are really going to come through very well on a two-dimensional webcam. But I just think they're fascinating, the whirly things, the textured nature of it. I mean, I can just about see pictures happening in here, and even some faces and stuff. So I was really happy to get some river rock, because canoeing and kayaking is a very big thing down there. So that, there are lots of neat rivers, lots of waterways to play with. And this one especially, it's like I see like a flower right here. That's the top of the flower and some leaves and stem. If it would even a cross or almost a ghostly figure there. And I think that this is a fossil. The way it looks to me is that this is either fossil coral, would be my best guess. This part right here is fossil coral of some kind. There's my amateur's guess on that one. This I think is just the way that the different hardnesses have worn away. So I was just very happy to have, especially some natural mementos, because even if I had time to wander a few shops, I didn't have time to sit and search by the river. Maybe someday I'll be able to take a full week off and really go and just stop at one of these places, these little touristy towns along the rivers, and really indulge myself. But I don't foresee that happening. I don't quite know how that would happen. Financially. So I have really been thinking, this is a quandary that I have had for many years, certainly the first time that I started making this trip, and as I was coming out of my first deep battle with Lyme disease. One of the questions that was very present in my mind was, do I just need to go live near Dr. Christ? Do I just need to go live near him so that I don't have to make these awful treks, and so that I know that I can get what I need when I need it? That first time, people were still heavily in denial about the prevalence of Lyme disease, about what's needed to treat Lyme disease, all of that. And, and since I didn't get treated properly, I mean, it wasn't even identified for a year after I had it. And then I had to identify it. And, it was just ridiculous. And so I was concerned, and I think rightfully concerned, but that's not that, it would recur and I would need further courses of antibiotics. I was lucky when I moved down here to encounter a cooperative doctor who understood Lyme disease to some extent. And she unfortunately has had some health issues. And in any case, she's kind of uncomfortable with the most aggressive protocols necessary when you really backslide, not just a little backslide, but seriously backslide like I did after my, not long before and after my hysterectomy. So this, kind of came up again. I had been doing these little romance things, and again, this developing affection for the Ozarks. And when I was talking to the doctor, we discussed sensitivity to electromagnetic waves, which is starting to make some sense to me. When I grew up and through my 20s and early 30s, I just think of myself as this really robust person. I don't think of myself as somebody who is going to succumb to a tick bite, a tick bite, it's a bug, and, or to electromagnetic waves. I mean, come on, or fungus, and it has turned out that in fact I am, and it makes me crazy. So this electromagnetic thing I hadn't really explored, because I think the first time he mentioned it was like, well, it just seems like a stretch. It seems like a stretch. I don't think of that as the primary or fundamental thing. But at this point, I'm really starting to entertain that notion, because I feel like there's some other influence that's preventing me from being as well as I could be. So, in other words, there's something that's keeping my body from defending itself on kind of multiple fronts. And so, doing a better job of staving off the Lyme bacteria and things like that. So we were discussing that, and his first thing would be, you would probably want to move out of a city or a place where there's wires all around you, etc., and all that stuff going on around you. And so I was talking about how generally when I come to see him, by the time I'm coming back, I feel physically better. Now you could say that's psychological or something, but I'm not so sure. I always thought that it had to do with so much exposure to light. Just during your drive, and vitamin D. And so that's what I thought it was. A better ability to absorb vitamin D was giving me that positive boost. Because I'm not normally in daylight, but I do now have daylight light bulbs. In other words, I have full spectrum light bulbs based on that theory, and it still hasn't completely helped me to overcome some of the issues I'm having. So I'm starting to consider this electromagnetic, which is all a ramble to say it came up for me that the other thing that happens when I drive to and from Dr. Christ is, for one thing, I'm encased in metal, which is part of, protecting yourself from electromagnetic waves. And I'm also driving through an area that has very little in the way of power lines, high tension towers, all of that stuff. A lot of it's parkland, conservation land, etc. There's still habitations and little towns out there, but not like where I'm at. So anyway, it was, and so again, between my affection and then this added potential health benefit, just had me going, the Ozarks. You know, it's not near my family, and I've always thought if I move again, it's going to be closer to family, one way or the other. But now I'm wondering about the Ozarks. And so I decided to draw a romance angels card, because I recently did a video about different ways to use these romance, different forms, you might say, different types of romances that we have in our life. And I certainly have romance with land, or land features, certain waterfalls here. There's an overlook here that I love. And so I really feel attached to specific places. And so I pulled a romance angel card, and it said, very soon, and I apologize, yes, it's reversed because of my webcam setting. It says, very soon, clearly decide what you want so that it comes to you now. So there's this idea that I could potentially, if I decide I want to go to the Ozarks, it could come to me. But that doesn't seem realistic to me. I'm like, really? How's that going to happen? I own my house. It's not in any way prepared to sell. And I don't have the money to get it prepared to sell. And so I pulled another one. It's just the very next one. I just looked at the next card. Finances and career. Financial issues are a factor in your love life right now. Yes, exactly. So I think you can stay tuned, but I think that I will not be moving to the Ozarks anytime soon. But, I had pulled earlier, actually on my trip, not when I got home. I didn't take the romance angels with me. I did take the Smith-Waite Centennial in a tin. I did take that with me. And I asked, what did I ask? I asked if I should plan to move to the Ozarks or something like that, and it gave me some positive cards, and some major arcana cards as well, positive major arcana. So I thought, okay, well, I can plan, I can look at that and see where it takes me. To me, that's not a promise from the cards in any way, but it's certainly a green light to either look into it or plan it. But I think it's not going to be a very soon plan. I think it's probably going to be a long-term plan. However, it could be, in that earlier video, there was a card that was honeymoon. And so I was talking about how the romance seemed backwards. It was honeymoon, marriage, and then getting to know you. And I was talking about the different things that could relate to. And that honeymoon card was coming to me as I was driving through the Ozarks, that said, well, this could easily be my honeymoon. This could be my honeymoon, driving through the Ozarks. I'm sure that living there would, in some ways it does not solve some of the issues I have with living where I'm at. I'm sure that I would still be among largely a group of people that with whom I share very few common beliefs. So there is that. Okay, so what I'm shuffling for here is that, as I mentioned with the whole idea of earthing with the electromagnetic issue, this particular doctor is looking at what they call Faraday cages, and which sounds awful, a cage. They should maybe call them huts or something. Anyway, it's a structure that protects you from electromagnetic waves. So while you're in it, you're protected from all the electromagnetic waves that are going on around us. And you're in contact with the earth, preferably the bare earth, and you have a metal pot of some kind with water in it. And this is supposed to, I think, help conduct stuff out of you. And I think it's supposed to help you ground, this water thing. Now, I've been doing the grounding stuff without the Faraday cage, and it really makes a difference. In other words, just sitting in contact with the earth, or laying in contact with the earth, or sitting with my feet on the bare earth. All of those things, but primarily sitting really affects me the best. In contact with the bare earth. And so I talked a little bit with him about that, so that, and that really measurably, but not long lasting, not long lasting at all. Maybe for a few hours or something, never past asleep. It does energize me. So I'm shuffling cards, and I'm going to pull for my relationship to the earth, and I'll be curious to see what I get. Let your friends help you. How bizarre. Ask for and accept support from others. Well, it's not that bizarre, because I was, although I don't think I need an intermediary in my relationship to the earth, I will if I do, and not my friends, but my father, probably, in terms of help constructing a Faraday cage. And I was shuffling, I thought, you know what, I need to pick this card, or a couple of cards. Separation. Now that makes sense to me. I'm too separated. This says time apart from your partner is on the horizon, and I don't think that's the true nature. I think it's that I am separated now. Can we look for trust? And I was thinking, can I look for like a solution or a new approach? And here we have trust. This situation is calling you to have faith. So there we go. And I think it's having faith in the ability to, or that persistence in this regard will pay off in spending more time and working my way toward a situation in which I am more in contact with the earth. In some ways, back to my wild self. This whole bout of Lyme disease has, and even moving east in general, has kind of taken me away from from my wild self. And that being the person who just likes to be out exploring and walking, etc., which is definitely harder to do, like in Tennessee, Alabama, and I'm sure that's going to be true in Missouri as well, because of the tick saturation level in these areas. When I was in Montana, there was more of a tick season. Not that you couldn't get ticks at other times, but it was mainly in the spring, and when things got dry enough, it wasn't that much of a concern. In all my years that I was out there, I think I had a tick on me maybe twice. And I'm not sure, I think maybe only one of those times was it attached. In any case, there you go. My takeaways from my trip to the Ozarks and my romance with the Ozarks and where it may or may not lead. All right, everybody, take care. Bye-bye.